so appreciate your time, because you've got the very gorgeous Baxter, who you've just showed me. You'll have to move your camera again, because
I'll turn it around again.
He's in his spurt. And I suppose why I contacted you to ask to do this is because I have actually had quite a few Weimeraners that have done so incredibly well on plant-based food. You were the very first one to contact me when you did, and do you know it's almost 2 years ago now, Gareth? Can you believe that?
I mean, it's 2 years less anxiety.
2 years less anxiety, wonderful. So let's take us back 2 years. So Baxter how old is he now?
He'll be 6 in March.
Okay, so let's take us back 2 years ago. Before that phone call, I remember your voice. You sounded anxious. You sounded you needed help. But take us through the journey that you went through with Baxter prior to him transitioning. What was he eating, and what were his symptoms?
So at about 2 years old, we realised there was a real problem with Baxter. So right from being a 6-month-old puppy, he'd had loose stools, bit of sickness, and we sort of wrote it off. Well, actually, we had a diagnosis for Giardia at 6 months, and he took a long time to shake that off. His stools never really got much better though after that, and we sort of experimented with lots of different brands, lots of different types of food, and it wasn't until he was about 2 years and he started losing weight very, very quickly, we sort of got him seen by our vet, and kind of on further investigation was revealed he had an intussusception. And so
I'll explain quickly to owners what that is. It's where the gut motility, so the action of the gut, moves so fast and everything's moving through so quickly that you get such a lot of peristalsis happening in the gut wall that it actually telescopes into itself. And it forms like a sausage. It's a horrible diagnosis to make. Poor boy, because he must have been horribly ill with it. And the only way is surgery, isn't it? To actually.
Yeah, absolutely. He had about 10 centimeters of his bowel removed. He had his seat removed. And I'm very grateful to the surgeon who did it. He did a fantastic job. And obviously, we were really worried about him, but it solved a problem in the first instance, in that he started gaining weight again, so he didn't have this blockage. Upon kind of receiving the results of the histopathology report on his on the piece of bowel that was removed, he had a diagnosis then, so that was the start of kind of finding a solution for Baxter. So he had a diagnosis for eosinophilic enteritis, and the assumption was that it was caused by his diet, so by allergy to protein. Our vet then recommended that we move him onto purest HA. But was he having a diet with no meat in it at that time? It felt very limiting. I was never really happy that it was a good quality diet.
Did you ever look at the, sorry, I'm interrupting you here, but did you ever look at the ingredients on the side of the pack?
Well, I remember having, immediately after having spoken to you, I did, because you recommended that I did. And yeah, it's the kind of startling amount of sugar in the diet that was...
They don't hide it. They just put sugar as its third ingredient, because what they're doing with is they're taking meat protein and they're hydrolysing the protein. So they're breaking the protein molecules down into such tiny particles that the body then doesn't recognize it as protein anymore. And so you don't get this allergic reaction. But that makes it really unpalatable. It's all very, very highly processed. So in order to increase the palatability, they add in sugar, which, as I say, they don't hide it. It's just, you just imagine what's it going to do to your dog's teeth, what will it do to the pancreas long term. Yes, a dog can't be sustained on a diet that, plus there were a lot of other additives in that food.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I sort of always, I was always a bit wary of kind of those sort of the veterinary recommended scientific foods, and because it always been my intention, having had a Weimaraner before, it was always my intention to kind of give him the best food possible, and it was so frustrating that that we were left with what I thought was one option, and that was on the advice of my vet. It was on the advice of a specialist internal medicine vet that I went to see, and he was still having intermittent bouts of sickness and diarrhea, because I mean, even with a hydrolysed protein source, I guess there was still some. It was still causing some sort of reaction with him from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think your very first one you tried sort of 18 months ago, I think, was it Greta or Solo Vegetal? Can you remember?
I think it was Green Crunch.
Green Crunch.
I think it may have been. There you go. He's speaking to me.
Oh, he's having his say. You'll have to show us
okay.
Baxter in the, oh, there he is. What a gorgeous boy. He's just so photogenic in his window spot.
he might come and join us in a minute. Who knows?
Yeah, he's chased off whoever's walked past.
So I think it was a combination of Green Crunch and Solo Vegetal.
Right. And what result did you see? Did you see a result straight away? Did he like the food? And
he was I think it really changed his relationship to food, actually. When I first had him, he would often sniff his food, leave it because he wasn't well, and then moving on to that hydrolysed diet, he did the same. He would often kind of go to food and sort of think, oh well, this is a bit boring, and walk off again. So he'd occasionally skip meals. With the Solo Vegetal, with the Green Crunch, he was just always enthusiastic, and I thought I'd finally got a Weimaraner that wasn't interested in food, and then actually I realised that he did have this. He really did want to eat. It's just the food had been making him so unwell and so sick that he just hadn't felt like eating, and so almost instantly, actually, it changed how he was around food, and made him turned him into kind of a dog that I was used to seeing, a dog that's enthusiastic about eating meals.
Yes, oh gosh, what a wonderful change for him and for you, because there's nothing worse than seeing your dog in pain.
No. I mean, it was almost 4 years of just frustration, really, and just really wanting to do the best by him, and wanted to give him the best food possible, and then feeling like there weren't many options.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because Solo Vegetal was actually developed for dogs with skin issues, but when you have a dog that has an intolerance to protein, as Baxter does have, you tend to get stomach and skin issues at the same time. So you get this intolerance, and they do have they feel it in themselves. They know that what they're going to eat is going to harm them. So it does definitely. Yeah. There's so many. What you're saying echoes what so many owners have found, is their dogs just don't want to eat when they know that what they've been given is actually, it's going to make them feel ill. But once they've realized that actually they're eating the protein from its natural source, and this plant protein obviously being the purest, most novel protein that there is, then thank goodness there's that understanding that actually I'm going to feel fine on this, because they do, they just feel well.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that certain breeds seem to suffer with these conditions, because Weimeraners, obviously, they're chosen for their beautiful looks, they're chosen for their extremely sensitive characters, and they do have these wonderfully sensitive characters. I mean, you mentioned it before we started the Zoom chat, how as a puppy he was just so needy, and he couldn't, and you struggled with leaving him alone. And that's why he has his window seat.
Yeah. Well, the flip side of that is they love people, and
exactly,
they're just fantastic people.
Yes, absolutely. So and that's what you're choosing him for. Obviously his beautiful looks, I mean, he looks stunning in that window seat, but equally it's we choose them for, why we choose a purebred dog is we choose because we know that you're going to get that character out of them, that ultimately, I mean, the last time I remember having a Zoom chat with you when we discussed his diet, he was cuddled on the sofa next to you with his head in your lap. And I mean, the bond between you is just incredible. They have, but with that enormous love comes an incredible sensitivity. And that sensitivity actually works its way through their entire system, their entire physiology. So it's not just a mental sensitivity, but it's actually a physiological sensitivity. So it's sensitivity to food, which we know the protein is obviously. I remember when he was castrated, he was put onto Metacam, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I remember you emailing me and so worried because you felt he was back to square one with his gut issues, but I think, was it stopping the medication that stopped the gut issues?
Yeah, it was actually, and it was just he does just have this incredibly sensitive gut.
Yes, gut and whole system. He's a sensitive boy, so it all has to be dealt with differently to other breeds. He's not alone with Weimeraners. We do get other breeds that fall into that category as well. But without you knowing it, you've ended up giving him one of possibly the healthiest diets that'll actually keep him around for a long time. Because
I mean, I do hope so.
Yes, absolutely, because we've got the protein level just right. I think you tried a different brand of plant-based food, didn't you, with him?
Yeah.
That actually started to cause his issues came back, but that particular brand is 28% protein.
Yeah, and actually, as I said to you at the time, it's interesting what you're saying about the sensitivity of the breed, but his behaviour changed on that as well. And
really good.
And actually, I do wonder, sort of looking back, and sort of I did try very high protein diets with him, and actually at one point I wondered whether it was the protein, the high level of protein that was the problem. And looking back, I wonder whether, because he wasn't the easiest dog to train. He was very loving, and he was really characterful. But actually, I do look back and think, actually, was this also diet related?
Yeah, definitely. There are behaviorists that actually will choose plant-based diets because of their calming effect, but a diet that's too high in protein. So even having chosen a plant-based diet that was higher in protein, so that's why actually the ones you've got him on, the Green Crunch and the Solo Vegetal, we're going no higher than 24% protein, and that which is the perfect level for a dog of protein, and that obviously suits him just perfectly. And have you been home cooking as well? Have you been doing?
Yeah. So
well then,
he always loves that one. I tend to make a batch and use it as a mixture, so half and half with the Solo Vegetal that he's on now. That seems to suit him really well. He loves it, and
he loves it. Well then, and don't you find it gives you even more of a bond, because you're in the kitchen cooking for him, and he'll come in and think, oh yeah, what am I having for dinner tonight? It smells good. There's something quite heartwarming about cooking for your own dog in your own home.
Well, he's always sniffing around when I'm portioning it up. He waits around. He hovers underneath the work surface and
and knowing what he's been through, where he's had such a bad association with food, it must actually feel so lovely to know that what you're preparing so carefully for him, he actually loves. We've got a wag in the tail, and it's giving him all the health that he needs, which it is. It's certainly. And have you been using the supplement as well when you make the homemade food? I can't remember if.
Yeah.
Okay, because what the supplement has in it, the supplement powder, the Just Be Kind supplement, is it actually has quite high levels of the amino acid tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin in the body. Okay. So actually it's been shown they have done tests where actually tryptophan has reduced aggression, it's reduced anxiety in dogs. So actually, without even knowing it, a plant-based diet actually, and the use of that supplement has also got the pre and the probiotics for his gut bacteria. So we're keeping his gut bacteria constant and happy. But actually, plant-based diets do definitely have a mental effect on the brain. The gut biome is known to reduce mental anxiety in humans. So a healthy gut microbiome, if you have a healthy level of nutrients and plant and fiber in your diet, you definitely suffer from less mental health issues because your gut microbiome is balanced. And you have high levels of this amino acid tryptophan. So again, without even knowing it, you've actually helped him with his anxiety in the best possible way by giving him the precursors to things like serotonin, which naturally calms you. It makes you feel happy. It releases that dopamine in the body. So there's everything about what you're doing. Are you plant-based yourself? I've never asked you this.
I'm not. I'm vegetarian. I'm not completely plant-based. Yes. It's a consideration for me. I limit the amount of dairy that I eat.
Yes.
And
sorry, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot yet. I'll never.
No.
I turned myself vegan, which was 3 years ago now, having not even been vegetarian prior to that. Right. But with this passion to find the perfect plant-based diet for dogs. But it's that knowledge of nutrition that is just fascinating. Once you are vegetarian or vegan, you have that incredible knowledge that you pick up with everything for your own health, but also for dogs. It's just a fascinating journey.
Absolutely, because I mean, as I mentioned to you before, it was the frustrations around not being able to give any variety, not feeling like I could treat him. So actually, moving on to a plant-based diet has, in a way, been kind of really empowering because it means, I mean, having checked the ingredients and certain, and there are plant-based treats out there, commercially available plant-based treats. It feels great to be able to give him an occasional treat, which I wasn't able to give him anything other than his kibble before, because I just didn't know what worked for him.
Yes, and now at least you know that actually he has to stay vegan because that's or plant-based really. But actually, in his instance, definitely vegan, because I think if you were to give him any dairy, that would definitely offset, because most dogs are lactose intolerant, which owners don't realize. I'll never forget the worst case of itchy ears, we call otitis, was actually a Weimeraner that I saw. I remember came in and she spent the entire time I was consulting flapping her ears, and it was at a charity I was working for, the PDSA, and a very young mother who didn't know what to do. But my first advice that I gave is please just cut out dairy, because so many owners actually use cheese to give tablets. So we put dogs onto medication for intense allergy and intense itching, and owners actually give it in cheese. So definitely Weimeraners come with their sensitivities, but
they do.
And your previous Weimaraner was fine. Did you not have any issues?
She never really. She'd get the occasional runny tummy, but it was she was kind of, she seemed kind of less sensitive, and in lots of ways actually.
But
different. But she thrived actually on quite high protein, and she did very well on that. In terms of her diet, she didn't have the same problems as Baxter does.
But and the other thing we haven't even touched on with Baxter. Oh, sorry, someone's just come to the door now.
Speaking again. No, they're just walking past.
He's chased someone away again. But maybe the other
bit. Some people are allowed, some people aren't.
Exactly, that's right. But another thing we haven't even touched on is that knowledge that actually what you're doing being vegetarian, and certainly by having Baxter on this plant-based diet, is you're saving probably 1 or 2 cows a year just yourself. I mean, that knowledge is phenomenal, what it's doing for the environmental impact, and the cruelty aspect is phenomenal. So yes, there's just everything positive in the. So, I mean, Baxter forced you into something that actually is so beneficial in every capacity for his health, for his conditions, and certainly for the planet, for everything. Yes,
absolutely. And before speaking to you, it's funny because I actually didn't even consider it, and it was only coming across you that I found out about it. And it does feel it felt like this really very, very fortunate accident that I just happened, and we've never looked back really. And he does love it. I mean, I can't really say, I can't say it strongly enough how much he loves his food now. And I never complain if he pesters me for food now, because it's just so amazing to see how his relationship to food has changed.
Wonderful. So I think let's finish off with a picture of Baxter. We see him in his pose, in his regal. There we go.
Baxter.
Hello, gorgeous boy. Baxter. I love that he's color coordinated with the cushion, the curtains, and Baxter. They're all Baxter colored.
Yes, absolutely.
And he looks so well. Oh, and his coat looks so shiny.
I mean, that is the reassuring thing. Everyone comments on kind of how good his physique is, how well he looks, and particularly those people who remember him from before. People always comment on the quality of his coat, how it keeps the weight off, so he's always energetic when he's out, and it's an amazing kind of turnaround. It's been an amazing turnaround for Baxter.